Hey everyone, here we are back in the car, and in honor of the 2024 World Championships Grand Finals taking place this weekend, Saturday at around 10 a.m. Eastern Time, I thought I would go through a ranked list from favorite to least favorite of all the World Championships finals that I personally have watched. So this will be from season 6 to season 13. I did not play the game in any capacity at all from season 1 to season 5. Even season 6, I had to go rewatch because I started playing in season 7, but I still feel it was important enough to me because it was the most recent one. But aside from that, this is just to kind of, get some content out there. Glad everyone liked the prediction video and breakdown for the grand final. So let's get right into this. Just kind of a fun thing in honor of what will hopefully be a good series on this upcoming Saturday. So at the bottom spot, number 7, this is last year's final. And before you hate me, I do not just hate T1. This is my enjoyment of watching these finals and versus my hype going in basically. And I mean, the Shy just griefed the whole series. It was just brutal to watch. He died a lot and just did not make it look good. Obviously T1 played well. It was fun to see them win. I liked seeing Keria win. That was a really good feel-good story, especially after, he was crying and shaking after losing to DRX the year before. Faker coming back to finally win after 7 years of not winning a World Championships, showing his longevity. That was really cool. It was just the hype I had going into it, and it just felt like BLG should have been the team in that final. So it was kind of dampered even before that happened, and the Shy just made it look ugly. Still not. I've seen worse series. I watched North America for fun. I've seen way worse series and way worse performances. But yeah, that's number 7. Number 6 is the 2018 finals. That was Fnatic versus Invictus Gaming. Now, this was because we had one of the best Western collective performances ever at Worlds. There were 3 Western teams in semifinals, which is crazy to say now. And this was the Fnatic that beat my beloved Cloud9 brutally 3-0 in the semifinals, and I was so ready. There was so much hope, even knowing how good IG was going into that man, we could do it. And then it was oh my god, Rookie and the Shy are monsters in this ridiculous, broken, reworked Aurelia, broken, reworked Aatrox meta, disgusting, awful. They didn't even, play Urgot when it was crazy broken at that point yet. It was just solo lanes galore, and it was fun to watch those two players just rip heads off, but it was just also kind of demoralizing. I'm sure you could see why. It was cool to see KDA, though. When they released Pop Stars, I was hype. But overall, I mean, again, it's also 3-0, so entertainment value is also going to be lower. But it was fun to watch Rookie and the Shy at their absolute peaks, and LPL first title. That's always cool, but man, that felt like it would have been the most magical year for the West to win. Now, speaking of the West, in 5th place, G2 versus FPX in 2019. I liked this one a little more because I actually liked Doinb a lot. I thought he was just hilarious. This goofy doing viral dances on Chinese social media and just playing crazy shit in the mid lane. I loved it, but I also love this G2 team. I truly believe there was never a better Xayah player than Perkz in that year when they won MSI. And I'm a Xayah player, so that holds a special place in my heart. And this was just so hype. It was in Europe, European team on the main stage, and then it was oh, this FPX team is actually crazy good and just knows their meta, knows their reads, and also G2 picked that disgusting Pyke mid into Nautilus mid game 1, how that would ever work. But also Tion, the GOAT, the kick in the bot lane, and just, it was still a fun series because FPX made it fun, and the hype surrounding it was man, G2 could do it. They felt like the best team in the world. They really did. And it was just, they ran into this brick wall, and that was very disappointing, but it was still fun to watch. I had a lot of fun with that. I still have my Worlds 2019 hat that I wear sometimes. But moving on, In fourth place is the 2016 finals. This would be SK Telecom at the time versus Samsung Galaxy, and this is SKT winning 3-2. I believe this was in North America, yes. Obviously, I wasn't quite playing when this happened yet, but I rewatched it once I got into it, and this was a fun series. I will say the meta at the time just did not provide the most exciting gameplay. Obviously, I mean, there was the Ash Arrow in the semifinals against Rox Tigers. That was cool, but I mean, this was like a Jhin, Varus, Ash, like crowd control meta with like all the tanks buying GAs and like Echo Tank Top and Poppy with GAs, and like all of the games in that series just felt very one-sided and slow because you still had the ward item in the jungle and it was just LCK full-on domination. The games were very methodical. So it just wasn't as exciting as like, say, like an LPL best of 5 where they're just getting 2 kills a minute and all this crazy shit. But still a really important series, I think, because it really, like, that was my introduction to really competitive League of Legends, seeing that, like, SKT was, like, these monsters, they win this giant tournament, then you start getting into their history. And I still like going back to watch that one. And I don't know. I will say the first time I ever watched it when I was fully unbiased, I was rooting for Samsung Galaxy just because I didn't know who either team was. So I guess that was disappointing, but I don't know. It's an important one to me, and it was 5 games, so, the 3 before this were not 5 games. Simple as. And there's a theme with that going forward, except for this next one. In third place, the 2017 finals, SKT versus Samsung Galaxy. The reason this is higher, even though it was a 3-0, and the first 2 games were stomps, really, they were not close. Game 3 was a banger. Like, if you haven't seen it, Game 3 is such a good game. Obviously, this Worlds was tainted by that vile Ardent Sensor item and, like, getting your support as much gold as possible to get it first, and, like, it was a wild time. This was Prime Ruler on his Xayah that he got the skin with, so, love that. This was you couldn't believe that SKT was losing, because this was a time where they were untouchable. When they were at Worlds, they won, because they weren't there in 2014 when Samsung White won, I don't believe. Or they weren't even I don't believe they were there. And that was the only one they didn't win. They won Season 3, 5, and 6. And it just felt impossible that we were watching this. Obviously, this was like the Crown Malzahar neutralizing Faker. But this was, Huni top, Peanut in the jungle. We had Huni Yasuo in Game 2 into the Gnar counter matchup. And just the spectacle of Legends Never Die in that bird's nest in Beijing. And just the dragon flying around. It was so cool. I was watching it in my friend's basement at it was 3 a.m. We'd stay up all night. And it was just, you couldn't believe that SKT lost. And it felt like, it really just did feel unfathomable at the time, because it was. But man, that Samsung Galaxy team was good. And it was kind of, after that, it stopped being just LCK for a while, because like those 3 finals, Season 5, 6, and 7, all LCK. And then you started seeing, next year was China versus EU. It felt like that was the end of that era. And, love that. I don't know. And it was just a fun one to watch, because that was the first World Championships finals I got to watch. So another reason that I liked it so much. I'm not a T1 hater. I am not. I'm sorry. They've just been in a lot of these finals. And some of them I like. Just, it's how it is. So, second place, 2021, EDG versus Dämonkey. This one was so fun. Obviously, this was like Iceland and all this, but following the EDG story where they won all these best of 5s the same way, losing the first game, winning 2, losing 1, and then, no, they would win 1, lose 2, win 2. They did that in quarters, semis, and finals, and this was just so hyped, because this was the, I'm realizing I didn't put one of them on there, so that's really cool. I didn't put DK versus Suning on here, so that's really funny, actually. That one I would put... Oh, that's so ridiculous. I would put that one tied for 4th, I want to say. Because it didn't really feel that competitive, but man, Fiora Pentakill was pretty hype. and just like the crowning of Showmaker. I've completely gone off script here, but I just forgot that it existed. Oopsies. I'm a very silly person. What can I say? But yeah, I would say tied for fourth is reasonable because it was like, I don't know, just Damwon and Suning weren't like the most hype teams ever. And just, that was a hard one to watch because it was like on the other side of the world. I'm just a crybaby who doesn't want to wake up early. And it just, I mean, DK felt unstoppable that year as well. So it was an expected win for them. But man, Suning, that was a fun team to watch. And like they were scrappy, and the hype going in was like, man, could they upset? I mean, they're in China. But yeah, I'd say tied for fourth. But let's keep moving on. EDG versus DK. That was so fun to watch. The EDG story. I was rooting for them. I was like, dude, this team's awesome. DK already got theirs. Not that I don't love Showmaker. He's hilarious. Funny guy. But this is like China's team that's been there forever. And it went to 5 games. It was dramatic. It was terrifying to watch. It was, edge of your seat. I was watching with all my friends. Such a good series. If you've never watched it, hope you've watched it. Good Lord, if you haven't watched at least all these finals, like, come on. The 5-game ones you just can't miss. And just, it's funny because I don't remember as much from that series, but it was so fun. And who doesn't love Scout? Come on. I think it was especially the documentary that EDG put out after that just showed how much like that meant. Like there were like schools of college students chanting EDG when this team won. It just meant so much to the LPL. And it was such a fun story to experience. So yeah, that's my second place. First place, 2022. Now it really seems like I just hate T1. But I don't think you can argue that this was just the best World Championships final ever. 5 games, massive underdog, deft Cinderella run. People thought he was going to retire and he didn't, but that's whatever. And just the Baron steal and that Elder steal and the Baron steal again in game 5, Gumayusi on the Varus, and like, oh my, just ridiculous fights. I was studying abroad at the time, watching this in an internet cafe at 7 a.m. with all my friends who were still in North America, and I was like screaming my head off. It was so fun, so stressful. I was rooting for DRX because I think I'm an underdog liker. I can't say I'm the biggest T1 fan, just in general. Like, there are a lot of teams I root for above them, but I do not hate them. They're very well deserving of all the praise they get. But I was kind of picking. I'm going with DRX. It just felt so fun, and I cannot express how fun that series was to watch. And I was ready to murder Pyosik with my bare hands when he just refused to smite, and then they still won, and deft, and just the emotion from Keria. Fantastic series. I still go back and watch like full highlights, full games of that one from time to time because it was so fun. And you should watch it too. And that concludes my list of my 8 favorite World Championships finals, because I'm just not smart and forgot that the year 2020 happened, which might be fair, to be honest. I was like in my room perma, so maybe it just slipped my mind. I refuse to acknowledge that it exists. But yeah, hopefully we get something that tops DRX T1 on Saturday. I kind of doubt it. The circumstances going into that one were really crazy, like with Deft and the Cinderella story and the fact that the underdog did win. But I think they could make a good run for like a second place. Like, I think at its peak it can make it to that level, and I'm very excited. Hope you're excited. Thank you to everyone who watched and has, found me ranting about this League of Legends stuff. Subscribe, like, comment massive like hate threads towards me, please, or don't. And yeah, hope you enjoyed watching. See ya. Enjoy the game Saturday.